Hi, everybody. This is Akimbari Akipenwaye. I'm one of the mentors at Skillweed. Um, Typical of our program, before we kick off, we have a program on GRC coming up August 13th. We like to have like a meet and greet whereby we share some nice information, basic cybersecurity and GRC information that are exciting out there. Most of us are familiar with the concept of password. Before you logged into your system today, I bet you used the password. So today, I understand some of us are very tech, much more matured in the field of technology. But for those of us that are new to the space, we get to learn a few new things. For those of us that are old, we get to learn some best practices that we've seen out there and have fun together. Let's get started, guys. All right, passwords. Let's talk about some basic fundamentals we know. The key thing is typically we ask the question, what determines a strong password? And why is this important? Right now, the world is in chaos. People are just crazy right now. People are making every effort to compromise sensitive information from anyone, from kids, from adults, from anything that lives. People don't care. And the funny thing is right now, because of the exposure to the internet, there is dark web where people can go in as low as $15, buy softwares that are crazy, complex, and can bring down multi-billion dollars organization. With a weak password, you're exposed and you're vulnerable. So it's a big deal. So some basic things we should think about is the complexity of your password. I know many times some of us, we know the no-no, don't put password as a password, right? Because that's a no-no. Um, it should not be easy to type, you know? It should be easy to remember, right? It's supposed to be significantly stronger against most password cracking activities. So, couple of things, let's recap real quick. Think about it. Is it complex enough? Is it easy to type? Meaning it's not something you're struggling to type out. It should be something you can remember. Sometimes some environments are so complex that if you forget your password, the process to even recover it is really crazy. If, for example, you have a crypto account, they will give you a bunch of password phrases. And if you lose any of those in your wallet and you have multi-million dollars crypto in that wallet, it's as good as gone forever. So it's supposed to be significantly strong so that it's hard for password software to crack. These password softwares are very cheap to buy. So you have to be savvy to make sure your password is not simple enough. So most organizations would mandate you to make it complex anyway. It should be typically a combination of letters, numbers, and characters. Um, that is some of the best practices out there, typically. All right. There are many things out there today. We use password managers. It's a popular thing a lot of people do right now. It's a bad practice to write a password and keep it. I know most of us can easily do that at work. Some of us in security and when you do phishing campaign, when you do cybersecurity assessment, one of the things to do is you walk around environment and see how many people have their sticky notes with their password on it. It's a bad practice. Be mindful of it. Um, the advantage of Password Manager also, it helps you to easily manage the overall password. It's easy to have access to your password. It makes it much more easier to use those password managers. Some passwordless solutions, like anything else, many people are trying to get out of password, and some people use um, part of our body. You see biometrics. People use their scan for their iris, for the eyes. People use their thumbprint. And in many cases right now, for more sensitive and robust environment, it's a combination of many factors. You use your badging, you use your fingerprint, you use your high iris. So it's a lot of things people do right now, and there are many reasons why people do that. For example, for non-savvy hospital system where people are not too tech savvy, they just want to be able to do their day-to-day function without having to remember a zillion password. Okay, so there's facial recognition software out there. There are many times tokens are sent right now. Most of us are already using those tokens, whereby if you try to log on to your bank account from another location, it triggers an alert, a token is sent to you, then you go back and forth in many cases. Another one that is big one out there, all of us are, I bet we are familiar with this multi-factor authentication. If anything you take away from this quick session, always remember the multi-factor authentication. Why? Because it's a way to kind of reduce your risk. Many times, nobody can just access your account without first getting that multi-factor authentication. There are some multi-factor authentication tools out there, like Google Authenticator. That is a big one out there that people use for ensuring their system is not exposed to threats. Another thing is you might see people use SMS, so you might get a code with your SMS. Many times also, it could even be, facial recognition or fingerprinting, depending on the environment you are working in. Um, just some good information, some things that trigger when we should use multi-factor authentication. This is a typical one. If you log in from a new location, your system will recognize you through geolocation to know that this is the pattern of where you've always resided. You've moved to another location, especially if you move out of the country. If you stay in Europe, Africa, the US, and you leave your location, it naturally would trigger it. The software browsers, and there are many browsers out there before they route through your ISP to show that, okay, this is a different location, and it will force you to authenticate again. So very important also, especially if you work in sensitive environment, that is a big deal many times. We have something we call discretionary access control, DAC. It allows login solution to consider whether to challenge you or not. And the way it does that is there are algorithms to trigger those challenges, such as location. If you move location, that will trigger it for sure. Sometimes, if the pattern of your behavior is different, for example, if you typically work from 8 to 5 and I now see you come to work by 9 p.m., then that can trigger a multi-factor authentication challenge to you, or if your spending pattern is certain way, suddenly I see you buy something else for retail store, that can trigger a multi-factor authentication. So many times these are algorithms built into different systems to trigger those multi-factor authentication. Password guessing. This is a technique that involves attempting to authenticate a particular user to a system. And the crazy thing, ladies and gentlemen, is there are tools out there that can automatically guess some password. So don't put your password as the obvious one, and these softwares are complicated. They can permutate millions of password combination. So it's important you make it a little bit harder for malicious actors to come within your environment. Okay. That is some very interesting things. Password cracking also. This is, like I said earlier on, many people use some very complicated tools. They can hack your password in quick ways, in seconds, and they can steal a lot of things from your computer, your personal record. They can hash a way to store your password so that they can have access to those passwords. Sometimes they use keystroke, meaning as you're typing your computer, it can log your keystroke logger. So they can be tracking how you're typing. So I can easily have those in plain text, meaning it will be in real time. I'll see what you're typing. That's why it's important when you're in public space, never log into your bank account or any sensitive site if you're in the airport or in a cafe, and if it's a public site that it's not protected. Don't be reckless enough to log into sensitive information. Rather use your phone that is secured to do those transactions. Very, very important. And that's it. And that's a quick one touch point for our lunch and break. The other thing I'll just talk about briefly is simple. Like I mentioned, we have a GRC class coming up August 13th. We're all excited in the next few days. We have topics that we covered: intro to cyber, developing policies and procedure, mapping framework like NIST 853, ISO 27001 mapping, NIST framework, third-party risk management, data security assessment, e-power overview, GDPR, PCI, fundamentals of IT general controls, a lot of good stuff. We look forward to those of you that are, registering already. Thank you, thank you, thank you for all the registration. This will be a fun class. If you want to contact us, just text on WhatsApp 469-554-9739. And feel free also, if you want to send an email, feel free, just send email to info@skillweed.com. And that's the session for today. We look forward to an exciting time. Later tonight, we do our community give back. We teach some leadership, good stuff. Be part of it and have fun. We'll talk soon. God bless. Bye.